thank you to everybody who is joining our live demo session today. My name is Ryan Mullen. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Cleo. I am joined by my colleague, Bob Bees, who is a member of our Solutions Architect team, and he's going to be the one walking through the platform today here. Again, thank you so much for attending, especially in the thick of what is busy season for so many of you, as well as the holiday season. I can confirm, this is always the number one question that I get. I can confirm that we will be sending out a recording of today's overview as well. So that is going to come via email. That's going to hit your inbox early next week, probably Monday. And that's going to come directly from our customer marketing manager, Jill Barlow. So please keep an eye out for that note. I'll also shamelessly plug our next live demo session, just in case you want to run it back, or if you have a colleague who was unable to make it today. It's actually not going to happen until January 9th next year. But we are going to be mixing up our demos a little bit. We're going to be doing some themes across different months, highlighting different types of integrations into various ERPs, TMSs, highlighting other elements of our platform than just the cockpit, which Bob's going to show here today. So come back for round 2 as well. And again, you can use the same link you used to register. So register again or share it with your colleagues. Last area of housekeeping. We are going to be saving some time for questions at the end of today's session. So don't wait though until we're finished. Please, there's a Q&A box there at the bottom of your screen. Drop the questions in there as they come to mind. We'll be sure to address them. Again, we'll leave some time before we wrap up. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bob. Bob, please take it away.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. Today, what we're going to do is take a look at the Cleo cloud solution. And let me just share my screen here real quick. You're going to get a sneak peek of what we call our cockpit. But before we dive into that, what I want to do is just kind of give you a high-level architecture overview of our solution in general. So let me just share this slide here real quick. So when we look at this slide, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'd normally love to build this out on a whiteboard, but if we break it down to the kind of the core pieces, you have your organization over here on the left, and within your organization, you've got applications and different components of your architecture that you're processing orders and doing fulfillments and those types of things. So typical ERP, in some cases we're talking about transportation documents as well. So you might have TMSs, whatever the application is, it's going to reside over here on the left. And those applications could be on-prem applications. So those on-prem legacy types of applications are typically going to be file system-based integrations or database-based integrations. The more current solutions are running APIs. So there's API types of integrations there. A lot of folks are using private cloud as well. And in a lot of cases, those private cloud platforms, they're running some similar types of applications. Generally, we're going to integrate with those API, but whatever the application allows. And then you've got a lot of cloud-based solutions now. So most of the cloud-based solutions are going to be API as well. So you'll need a solution that can connect to, either one or any of those types of integrations. And if it's API, I just want to call out that we handle, your typical SOAP or JSON or RESTful API. So typically it's going to be XML or a JSON structure. And so we integrate, that way via API. If we're going to database, we have an agent here. It's a component that kind of resides in your environment, establishes a secure connection to the cloud. And with that agent or through that agent, we actually do JDBC connections into the database to exchange data with those tables on the database. So the other side of this is your trading partners, and trading partners are all over the place. So with your trading partners, in the B2B world, typically we're talking about EDI, and we support a large variety of EDI standards, but they may be doing things like flat file. They may be sending you documents like Excel documents, over an email. So we can handle that. We can handle any type of flat file. Just like on the left-hand side, if you need to connect to your trading partner via an API, or your partner's asking for you to host an API so they can move documents to and from your side of the equation, we've got you supported just like on the other side. So typical SOAP and RESTful APIs. We also have connectivity for those folks that aren't technically, savvy. They can't spell ADI, they can't do FTP, they can't spell FTP. But if you give them a browser and point it to a portal where they can, either receive orders from you as a supplier, or they can send you orders using a form just from a browser interface and receive the appropriate correlating documents back in a form, so they can actually exchange data with you however it is going to work out for them. So no matter how you're connecting to your partner and the type of data you're exchanging with your partner, it would flow through our cloud solution. So at the core, we have the engine. The engine's what's going to do kind of that core component, which is data transformation. Whatever your partner is sending, you need to go into your application a certain way, and whatever is coming out of your applications needs to go to your partner in a certain way. So we call that transformation. Now, along with transformation, you may need to do some other things. You may need to do multiple types of transformations for a single type of file. So we can build orchestrated flows. So think business process flows, and we can, handle, different branches in those flows to deal with those types of orchestrations. Obviously, with integration, you're sometimes dealing with how do you want to automate those flows and those different activities. So we've got the automation covered here in the engine as well. So now when you think of this big picture, as the data is moving back and forth, the visibility to every little step along the way is what we're going to focus on today, this piece called CIC Cockpit. And so it's really important to remember every little step I kind of talked through, in these last few minutes is what you would be able to see in this dashboard we're going to look at. What this means is you're not having to go to a different solution. We also present the data in a really simple way for folks who are not technical. So here at the top, you can kind of see different personas that can actually use this cockpit. So many of the solutions in this space are geared for these technical people over here. But the reality is when we get into the cockpit, you'll see it's at the highest level. It's really simple for non-technical people to see what's going on with that exchange of data back and forth. But you can drill into what's going on with those transactions, and you can really get down in the weeds if you're technical. So we even make this dashboard available for your trading partners. So if they want to check on, did you get my document, they could check on that themselves. They don't have to necessarily call you up and ask, a CSR what's going on. So we'll take a look at that here in a moment. The other side that we're not going to look at today is a piece that we call Studio. And with this solution, you can actually self-service. You can build these very robust transformations and orchestrations on your own. It's pretty unique to our solution. We are a cloud-based solution, but we don't lock you out of it. So we aren't a black box. If you want to, go in and tweak a map that's running in our cloud environment, you have access to that. You can control that. You can own that. That means you can be really agile. So this is where we are definitely quite a bit different from our competitors as well. So with that, I'm going to hop out of the architecture, and we are going to jump into the cockpit piece. So when we look at the cockpit and when we first log in, we'll land in this activity dashboard screen. And what this screen typically will display is all the transactions that we are processing for your organization. And they can be any transaction, they can be proprietary, it doesn't matter to us. In my environment, I've got it set up for order to cash. So, at a glance, it's really easy for me to see. I've got orders, I've got order confirmations, ship notices, invoices, remittances. Depending on my persona or my role in an organization, I may not care about all these. I can come in and I can edit this screen. So, I don't look at the order, the shipment detail. All I care about if I'm receivables is sending the invoice out and getting the remittance back. So you can kind of tailor the screen to what makes sense for you. If you're more of an admin type person, you might want something like this message volume tile, the open issues tile. We've got a number of tiles that you can add that are geared more towards the admin or technical person. But while we're here, I just want to talk a little bit about the current issues tile. So, a pretty unique part of Cleo's solution. It is a cloud-based solution, and as transactions are moving through those flows we looked at earlier, if something goes on, something happens, there's an exception. Well, one thing I want to call out is we are a managed by exception platform. So what that means is, well, I love the cockpit. It has a lot of, a lot of different things you can see and dig into. The reality is these processes are kind of like utilities that run in the background. And generally speaking, we don't think about them or don't want to think about them unless we need to. So that's where exception management comes in. We're going to send you notifications when there's an exception. Then to come into the solution. The exception email even gives you links that take you directly to the thing that you need to look at. This tile here, though, is giving you visibility to those exceptions or those issues. And this ties directly into our help desk. So depending on the level of managed services that you have, you would see that we generated a new ticket, or you've got X number of open tickets, or you've got tickets that are pending. Maybe you're waiting for a partner to restart the FTP server on their side, or maybe we're on hold for some reason, right? We're making a change on our ERP on our side, and we want to get through that before we reprocess some documents. So this is going to give you visibility to those types of exceptions. The different types of exceptions. And we can even break this down if you wanted, like your top 3 partners, you can see it by partner as well. So this can be pretty handy for, folks in your organization that want visibility to those specific partners. So from the screen, typically what I'm going to do is I know I want to go in and, let's say, look for a purchase order that came in, and I want to see what's going on with it. So if I come over here to this tile and select that, what I'm going to see are all the purchase orders that are coming from all of my partners. I can come over here on the left and I can filter by partner, or I can filter by, in the case of EDI, acknowledgement status. I can filter by content in the transaction. So these tiles can show you granular data from the transaction itself, and we configure this however you want to see the data. What do you want to see from that transaction? And I can even filter here for that type of information. So if it's a shipment ID or an order number, or it's a item number, even I could include that here, and that makes it searchable. For us, a transaction's a transaction. So in the case of an order is an order. It doesn't matter if it comes in via a 50 or via an API or a spreadsheet. Those things are all going to show up here in an order. But you can see in these tiles, I can see that it came in a certain way. So if I'm not technical, all I care about is an order. If I'm technical, maybe I care that it came in via EDI or some other method. If I'm not technical, maybe I'm not super savvy with EDI, but I know in the EDI world that if I receive a document, I need to send, part of the EDI process is sending a acknowledgement of receipt. So this little, opposite corner shows me that I've done that. So, really easy for non-technical people to see green is good, red is bad. If I didn't do it, I haven't sent it yet, or I couldn't send it for some reason, and I'd see a red X. So you can kind of see those statuses here. So the idea again here is if you're not technical, you don't have to worry about how the data is moving back and forth. You just care about that it's in order, right? So let's say I want to look at this specific order. Well, when I select that tile, it's going to allow me to expand. So we kind of zoomed into, think of that last tile as a thumbnail view, and now we've gone into the full screen view. So from here, I can see even more information about that transaction. Again, what information that is really up to you. You tell us what you want to see here. We are not limited to the real estate on the screen. Again, anything that's in this view, whether it's below the scroll line or outside the scroll line, that also is searchable data on the last screen. Now, if you're like me, your eye immediately went to the left-hand side of the screen, and this is, I think a highlight of the solution here is the fact that, well, I said I wanted to see the purchase order, and I can see that detail here. I can see all the correlating transactions associated with whatever transaction I started from. So maybe I started with the invoice. So when I come in, I can see, that in this case, we acknowledged this purchase order, we sent shipping details, we invoiced, and we received the remittance back. So this is all chronological, and I can actually step through it. So if I want to see what we invoiced for, I select that transaction from this view, and now I can see, the detail here, just like as if I started with the invoice from the main screen. And I can step through all these transactions just like that. So that's pretty powerful. A lot of tools make it really tough to go find those correlating transactions. We make it, just a snap, just like you saw. Now, if you are technical, you can come over here. You can, jump into the raw data view. So in this case, this was an EDI inbound order, and I can see the raw EDI for this specific transaction. So I've worked on a lot of different solutions in this space. Very often when I want to look at the raw data, I'm looking at the entire EDI interchange. So it's a much larger file because we're processing at the transaction level here for this specific order. I'm just looking at that set level data for that particular transaction. If I want to see how I translated that, I can display it side by side with the original document and what I passed into my backend application. In this case, SAP uses a positional flat file. If I was going into Business Central or NetSuite, I would see XML or JSON, depending on what I'm integrating with. So again, we're in any transformation solution. So the data displayed here is going to be relevant to the type of data you're processing. Another thing I want to call out is, let's say that I'm going to go with this scenario. Let's say that we send the invoice out and we fail here. So when I look at this tile, I can kind of see the flow of events. I can see that, I received this transaction from my application. I did a transformation and I successfully sent it here to my partner VAS2. So I see all green check marks along the way, but let's say we had a red check mark here. I got a notification that said that there was a problem delivering, via FTP to my partner. So a couple things are going to happen. That notification is going to give me that detail. It's going to give me a link. It's going to take me straight to where we're at now, along with some message detail about what had happened. But what I can do here is I can jump in, and let's say it was a connection detail. Because I'm looking at this branch in this flow, I'm looking now at the connectivity log. So again, you would maybe want to be a little more technical here, but here's where you would see, okay, well, the remote side wasn't available for that FTP. So it gives you the ability to get down in the weeds, like I had mentioned earlier. But what I really wanted to show you is if I come back, just jump in here one more time. If I come back to this screen here, and I got a notification that, again, I couldn't connect to the partner. I reach out to my partner, say, hey, it looks like your FTP server's down. They make the correction or fix on their side. They tell me, go ahead and try in 10 minutes again. Because we're kind of checkpointing where we failed in this process, you see here, all I really need to do is come up to the top where this gear is and say, I want to reprocess this message. So super easy as far as error recovery goes, and knowing what's going on. The notification gives you that, but it's the recovery after an error that is simplified. So because again, we're checkpointing where the failure was. In this case, when I reprocess this, it knows that the connection was the issue, and it's going to attempt to connect to that partner again, and this time we're successful. And that works anywhere along the way. Maybe I couldn't pull the data from my application with the API call. I'd get a notification here that this was the problem. When I retry, it's going to restart from that point, et cetera, et cetera. So the last thing I want to show you guys before we start taking some questions is, and I'm going to switch here real quick to a different instance. I want to show you how you can easily onboard a partner. So if I come in here to this network menu and I've got my partner list here, well, if I want to add a partner, all I need to do here is come up, say I want to import a new partner. And in my case, I've got it set up to just look at templates that I have on my system. For you, you would be browsing out on the cloud to a list of partners in our network. But here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add this AFIS partner. And I'm going to grab this partner profile and I'm going to open that. And what it does is it brings in the details about that partner, their qualifier ID, their EDI ID, et cetera, et cetera. And then it wants my ID. So I'm going to put in my information here. Actually, that's not a good qualifier. I'm going to put in my information here. And I'm going to say save. And now I've got that new partner saved in my system, but I also want to go ahead and add transactions. So once that saves, I can come over to the transactions and I can say, well, I want to import, a list of transactions that are available for that partner. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and grab an order for now, say open. And it's going to bring that transaction in. And essentially what we're doing is we've got that partner specification for this particular transaction. And now you've got the ability to come in and start doing some simple mapping right out of the cockpit interface. So where I see these @ signs here, that just means I want to pass the data through as is. If I want to modify that, I can come in. I'm trying to find an example here, but I can add some commands here that tell the mapper how to manipulate that data. So we could do that in a deeper dive session if you guys want to later, but I think Ryan, I'm going to stop here for questions.
All right, thank you so much. That was great, Bob. And yeah, we do have a couple of questions, so we'll try to get through this in rapid fire fashion here. Is it possible to share notes on integration errors or issue statuses with other users or people in my organization?
A good question. So hopefully I can grab one here quickly. When I do have an exception, and I don't have an exception in the system here quickly that I can find, I'll have an option here though where I can, get a shareable link and I could, say who I want to share this detail to. So yeah, there's a way to do that.
Okay, excellent. Does Cleo handle logistics specific documents such as the 200 series?
Absolutely. I didn't use them for this demo, but anything that's in any of the EDI specifications, X12, Triticon, Edifact standards, we support all of those transactions.
Okay, fantastic. Does Clio Integration Cloud integrate with other platforms like Zendesk, other support ticketing systems, or other platforms in general?
Yep, good question. So yeah, when I talked about how we open a ticket with our help desk, we're actually integrating to Zendesk behind the scenes. If you wanted to take those error notifications and route them to your ops console, typically these days that's done via API. It's just a modification of our orchestration flow behind the scenes, similar to what we do with Zendesk. You would just point it to your ops console.
Okay, excellent. Those are the only three that we had today. Well, thank you, Bob. That was an awesome run through. Really appreciate your time and everyone on the session as well. Thank you for spending 30 minutes with us. We're hitting the top of the hour here. Again, we will be sending out the recording via email early next week. Specifically, I believe this will be going out on Monday. Other than that, thank you. Enjoy the holiday season, and we hope to see you in January. Bye.
Guys.